Hi, this is Lee, and I'd like to welcome you to Alchemy Intuitive Arts. I'd like to invite you to like, comment, share, or subscribe if you like my content. This is another episode of Dreamscape, and Dreamscape is where I talk about the dreams that I have, and oftentimes the dreams have come true, will come true, or are relevant in some way. Could be as simple as, a person I'm going to meet the next day, or it could be as big as some kind of major event that happens on the news. So these dreams are crazy sometimes. But as many channelers do, they may have a dream or a download, and unless they write it down, they will forget it. And so the other day, oddly, I was going through my phone to get rid of some of these old files that I have from years back. And I opened this file, and it was a dream that I wrote down. And I was reading through it, and I'm like, I can't even remember when I dreamt this dream. But since it is a dream, and I wrote it down, I think it's important that I record it and put it out there. This may apply to any of you, so let's go.
Welcome to Alchemy Intuitive Arts for entertainment only. Use your discernment, all rights reserved. Everyone is welcome. Do no harm. Join our community. Thank you.
So the dream starts out as my grandmother's house, and it was unfinished. And my mother was living in this house while the renovations were being completed. So there was a house. My mother was the owner of the house, but it looks like it used to be my grandmother's house. And the next thing that happens in the dream is that my aunt was at the house, or came over to the house, and was with my brother. And they were actually in the back room of the home. And the weird part about the dream was I had this flash of a strange storage locker kind of a place that had two caskets that were being held there in that storage room. And one casket was large for an adult, and one casket was small for a child. And it appeared as though the caskets actually held the bodies of a child and an adult within them already. So no, this isn't a scary horror story. This is a weird, kind of creepy dream I had. But so, flashing to a prior time, I got the feeling that the two people in the caskets were my mother, who was my actual real mother, and my sister that may have passed away when I was born. And that was the end of that part of the dream. Then I flashed back to the house, and my aunt was indicating that she was going to get a helper for my mother to fix up this home. And this home was apparently in the location of, close to where I grew up or where I was born. And my aunt wanted to, intervene and get somebody to come over and help my mother. And I stepped up to my aunt and I said that my mother didn't need my aunt to help her. And I told her, my mom doesn't need any help. And she was fine with that. She appreciates her efforts, but that she owns the house and she was busy herself with her own renovations and her own ideas about what the house is going to be like. And so my mom was an artist, so she had a really good eye for these things. Didn't need anybody to help her. And oddly, in real life, there was always some tension I felt as a child between my aunt and my mother. So as dreams do, they don't always make chronological sense. Like you'll have a flash of one thing and then a flash of another thing and another thing. And somehow they're all related, but it's not always apparent in the dream. Anyways, fast forward to the next part of the dream, which was this whole incident that happened when I was supposed to go with my mom in her car to this house that was being renovated. And instead, I went there early, independently, and I saw my aunt there with my cousin. It was really weird for me because I was wondering why is my aunt and my cousin, possibly other cousins of mine, together? Why are they at my house? I came up on them at my house, and I came away feeling like somebody within the family was trying to take the home from my mother. I was trying to question my aunt regarding her rights or my mother's rights, and trying to get more clarification so that I could understand what was going on and why my brother was there, why my aunt was there, why my cousins were there. And then the whole other weird piece has to do with these caskets, or what I might look at as a early memory or a prior incident that maybe that was my other mother, but my real mother was deceased, and potentially a sibling as well, or somebody was deceased in the whole incident. But it came out as a sibling, a small sibling, like a child, a baby, a very young sibling. So the reason why I put this dream out is not necessarily because it relates to anything that happened to me, but that I've come across with these kind of, messages before in my dreams regarding people who will try and play games with people's estates. They will try and be sneaky They will try and steal assets. They will steal assets, and they will smile at you in your face. All the while, they're working behind the scenes, committing fraud, committing theft, and stealing assets. It could be property. It could be monetary stocks, bonds. It could be physical things like, items that were left to somebody. There's a lot of greedy people that are willing to commit fraud, and sometimes it can be your very own family. It's very important to be aware of what's going on in your family. I've said this before, especially with somebody getting ready to pass, because sometimes you will have situations where people will band together to steal assets from somebody else in the family. And depending on whether or not that person is able to be the type of person that's going to stick up for themselves and get in the middle of those types of things. I know the way that I was taught was that is not my business to snoop into somebody's will or somebody's trust, or, what does our family have, that type of thing. I was always taught that that is, their business, somebody else's business, your parents' business, your brother's business, your sister's business. That is not my business until in which time that person passes away. And it's very common these days, and apparently it's been common for many long years, for people to plan, especially if they know of an asset that a child may have. Or perhaps there's a secret in the family where the child is not a blood child. Who knows? Who knows what people's motivation is? But some people will claim assets that belong or are rightfully somebody else. And these days, we even have people who are, maybe befriend an older person or get close to them and, try and take their assets while they're alive or right before they pass away, or even expedite their passing. There's some crazy things that go on out there, and a lot of people are hungry. And so it's up to you to be heads up when it comes to your family and your assets and your family's assets and how that relates back to you. And with that said, I send you love, light, and thank you.